Hi, it's Chef Rick, and today I'm making scouse. Okay, we're going to make Liverpool's favourite dish. We're going to start with a side for the dish, a pickled red cabbage. So we're going to take a red cabbage and take off just the outside layer of leaf, which is like really waxy. Get rid of that, and then chop it as thin as you can. Use a mandolin or a knife like I'm using, but you just want to chop the red cabbage nice and thin. Just like that. Take as much as we can off the cabbage, and now put it into a colander. And you want to cover it in rock salt, or these are sea salt flakes, and then just stick it in the sink or somewhere where it's able to drain for 3 to 4 hours. And mine was left for like 5 hours, and it was perfect in the end. Again, this is still for the pickle. Don't forget, this is still for the red cabbage pickle. So we're going to put some cider vinegar, red wine. All the quantities will be down in the description. Caster sugar, black peppercorns, bay leaves, and again, you're going to get that on a simmer. Oh yeah, I zoomed in on the side there because you want this to reduce by half, and if this pan's got like a measurement on it, just so you'll be able to see that it has reduced by half. That's why we're zooming in there. So basically, make sure all that sugar is combined. Stir that in, and just leave that on the stove on a nice low simmer until, like I say, it's reduced by half. It started thickening up. All the bay leaves, the peppercorns, etc. They're infusing into the wine and cider vinegar mixture. Leave that on the side then for about an hour till it's completely cool. Sieve it, get rid of all those ingredients, and there you go. There you've got your pickling liquid. Now, after, like I say, this is about 4 hours later. You just want to rinse all of the water off that red cabbage. All the salt off the red cabbage using water, and then you just want to pat that dry. So you want to put it in a tea towel, nice clean tea towel. Doesn't matter if it's too wet, you just want it a little bit dry here. So I just stick it like that, leave it on the side just for a second, just so it can all evaporate. And then I'll put the red cabbage into, I'm using a mason jar here, but you could use any bowl or anything that's big enough to hold it all. In go some mustard seeds, like with most pickles, and then the liquid that we made earlier. Great thing about a mason jar like this, of course, is you can just shake it and that'll really get it all combined and lovely. So get that all covered, get that all combined, then get it in the fridge. You can eat this straight away, it's absolutely delicious straight away, but the longer you leave it, the better. You can keep this up to a month, but as with most things, it's never going to last a month. This was gone within 2 days. But yeah, leave it in the fridge until you need it. That is a pickled red cabbage. Right, onto the scouse. Very, very simple dish. It's basically a stew. With only a couple of vegetables in there. So we've got carrots. First thing we're going to do with the carrots is just peel them, top and tail them, and then we're going to chop them. Just going to chop them around about that thick, and then we're going to take each of those and we're going to half them again, and that's going to be the carrot. Whilst I'm chopping the carrots, you know what I'm going to ask you. If you like my videos, please hit like. If you don't like them, that's absolutely no problem at all. And if you're not subscribed, if you could please hit that subscribe button, because it doesn't cost you anything, but it's just great for me. And I do 3 of these videos a week, so I just really appreciate it. If you don't want to, so be it. That's a carrot chopped. This is a swede. Peel the swede completely. A swede and a turnip are pretty much the same thing. A swede is a Swedish turnip. That's why it's called a swede. And you're going to chop it down into kind of thick chunks. We're going to try and make cubes out of this. And then take each of your slices and chop it into what would be like really, really thick chips, but I just mean to chop it that way. And then take each of those big thick chips and chop that lengthways as well. And that's how you'll cube a root vegetable like the swede. There you go. And potatoes, just like we've done before, we're going to peel them. We're going to slice them again, just like we did with the swede. And take each of those slices, chop them lengthways into, like I say, big chips, and chop those again to make yourself cubes. So you got those potato cubes. Just like that, there's some potato cubes. So we've got the carrot chopped, the swede chopped, the potato, and then the last veg we need is an onion. So we're going to, or onions should I say. So take the top off the onion and peel it. As with all the onions we cook with, always keep the root intact, and that's going to stop you crying. And where normally we chop along several times here, just put 3 kind of big cuts along the onion, just like that, so it's all held together at the root, but we've chopped down into it. And again, roughly maybe 1, 2 or 3 chops against the grain that way, and that's going to give you nice chunks of onion. Perfect when you're making a stew. We don't need this finely diced, we're not making like some lovely sauce, this is just going to be a stew. So that's your onions all chopped up. Some bay leaves, 3 nice big bay leaves, and some thyme. Thyme is an amazing herb, especially if you're cooking with steaks or anything like that, but it's an absolute ball ache to take those tiny little leaves off the stalks, off the twigs. So nice little top tip for you, if you want to remove them, get a sieve like this, put one end of the stalk through the sieve, just like that, through one of the holes, and just pull. And just pull slowly. This one I pulled a bit vigorously, that's why they've jumped around, but it doesn't matter, we still kept them all. And look at the twig, just a bare twig. This one I'll pull a little bit slower, but you can see if you just pull the twig through, then it just strips the twig really, really well. You get all those perfect little thyme leaves. You're not going to have any little twiggy bits in the food, and it strips it perfectly. Look at that, completely empty, and that's how you strip thyme. That's a massive shortcut, that. There's your thyme. Saved your time. And that's the beef, skirt steak, any kind of skirt steak, stewing steak. They say that scouse is either made with beef or lamb. So I went to all my mates in Liverpool. I said, what does your mum use, beef or lamb? Everyone come back, mum only use beef. Beef's always beef, so I've gone with beef on this one. So the first thing we do, into a pan with some oil, we put the beef in a very hot pan. We put that beef in there, we're going to brown it off. So you'll let it sit against all those hot edges of the pan. Don't move it too much. You want it to catch on the edges till it goes like that. So it's all browned and it's all sealed. In with the onions. Stir those onions around till they're all lovely and soft. Obviously they're imparting flavour into the dish. That lovely onion is going in there, but it's also they're taking on flavours from all the browned beef that's been in the pan. So that's your onions and your beef. They've probably been cooking in there for 10 minutes. Just keep moving it around, just making sure it's all lovely and covered, all combined. Now we're going to add a bottle of beer, bitter, ideally if you can. Again, we're going to now cook this probably for about 10-15 minutes, and just until it's reduced. Probably want that beer to reduce by about a quarter, but what that's going to do is just going to add a lovely flavour. All the alcohol's gone at this point, you've boiled off all the alcohol, but it's just going to give a lovely sweet flavour to that meat and onion. So that's what you want, a nice low simmer. Look at it. Now we're going to add the vegetables, so we're going to add the carrots, swede, and about half the potatoes, or not all the potatoes. Keep some potatoes back because you want to add those. We're going to add the rest of those potatoes in about half an hour's time. So there's the thyme and beef stock. All the quantities, of course, are going to be in the description below. Although there's no Scouse Ma anywhere who's going to have absolute quantities of this. Every household has their own recipe and exactly how they do it. So I'm not trying to say this is the best, but I'm telling you it's absolutely fantastic. So that's been cooking for about, then we're going to add the bay leaves. Add the bay leaves later, so don't add the bay leaves with all those big chunky vegetables, because if they all start breaking and getting smashed apart, I want to take those bay leaves out before serving, so I'll try and keep them as whole as I can. So that's now been simmering and cooking away probably for about 20 minutes. Just make sure it's all stirred, all combined. Every time you stir it, you feel the texture of each of those vegetables, and if you can feel that they're really starting to break apart, you see, so it's done about 20 minutes. Now we put the rest of the potatoes in. That's so some potatoes are nice and firm as you're biting into it, or at least kind of you can taste the texture, and those first lot of potatoes we put in, they've broken down a lot and really thickened up the sauce, thickened up the stew. And now we're just going to cook this. We're going to let it on a nice low simmer for around about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or up until the point where it's really starting to resemble an absolutely beautiful, thick, beefy stew. Keep stirring it. Not overly stirring it, of course. Probably keep stirring it every 15 minutes or so. You don't want to make it all mush. You want to make sure that it's still got a nice bit of texture, a little bit of shape to it. You can see that's obviously way too liquid at that point. We want this to be a thick sauce, or a thick kind of, stewy sauce. Now we're talking. Now it's looking a lot more like scouse. That's pretty much, I'm happy with that. I'll take that off the heat. The pan's going to keep residual heat in it just until we're ready to serve. Remove those bay leaves. This is why we kept them whole. Just make sure those bay leaves are removed. Nobody wants to put a bite into a bay leaf. Season it. Taste it. What does it need? Salt? Does it need pepper? As much salt and pepper as you want. And that's pretty much it, ready to serve. Scouse is from a Swedish or a Nordic dish called lobscouse, and the sailors in the port of Liverpool took to it so much, they absolutely loved it. It became their dish, and that's why people in Liverpool are nicknamed Scousers, and the accent that they speak is Scouse, and it all comes from this one dish. So if you are in Liverpool, you have grown up eating this, I can pretty much guarantee it. We'll plate it up. So there's our scouse. There's some of that pickled red cabbage, nice and crunchy, nice and cold, and it's sweet, it's sour, it's tart, it's the most perfect complement to the meat. 2 lovely buttered slices of white bread. Dig in. Winter warmer, autumn warmer, have that all year round. It's absolutely fab, it's absolutely boss. You'll see what I did there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.